person, Albi Modise. Mr. Modise, thanks for your time. Welcome to Update at Noon.
Sakina, good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity.
And I would imagine there's quite a bit that you'd like to respond to, given what the Automobile Association has put forward. But firstly, let's start by confirming some of what we heard there. Can you confirm that Gautrain has been experiencing a decline in passenger commuter numbers, and to what degree?
Sakina, thank you. Rail system networks like Gautrain across the world post-COVID have been clawing their way back to their pre-COVID numbers. And then there are a number of reasons. Firstly, let's agree that the COVID pandemic has changed the work patterns, right? People who used to do 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and buying a full month product don't do that anymore. They work 2 days a week in the office, 3 days at home, and consequently would travel on the system 2 days or thereabouts. And those who are still at home don't have to use the system like they used to before because of the work from home system. So it's an important point, because when we miss that point, we forget the context within which we putting forward arguments around why the numbers have dwindled. But what are we doing about that, Sakina? I think it's an important question, because Gautrain is a publicly owned transport system. It's owned by the people of Gauteng. It's owned by the province of Gauteng. And we've done a research. Our brand valuation study has come back and said to us, you're doing well as a brand. You are respected amongst the family of public institutions in South Africa. But the question of relatability is one that's got red flags that have been flashing, because we are seen as by some people as elitist. We are seen by some people as not relatable with them. And therefore, we have to go back to the drawing board and say the kind of customer that we're serving post-COVID would want to make sure that they can access the system with the products that are fairly affordable, given where we are financially. And we've gone back to the drawing board and look at how we can make sure that it's affordable and accessible, irrespective of individuals' station in life. So that's what we're working on. So I'm sure before June arrives, we will have announced some of the packages that we're putting on the table to make sure that we improve and we respond to the needs of the customers, given where we are financially as a nation, as a country, but also given the fact that we're trying to respond to the needs of the customers. And part of that includes, among others, making sure that we look at how do we make sure that that customer that used to take a train every Monday to Friday, who now works only 2 days a week in the office or 1 day, what kind of product can respond to that particular customer's needs. So it's about responding to the customer's needs, because it's a very dynamic environment that we're dealing with.
So that answers the question of the dwindling numbers, but also the price point. Because and I'm glad to hear that you have undertaken that study, and it has pointed out where some of the weaknesses may lie, because it brings us then to this expansion plan, this 120 billion rand expansion plan. So which areas are you looking to cover in this expansion plan, and have you already started?
We are at the present moment, the MEC has invited comments from a number of stakeholders that are invited to respond to, but also there is already what you call route determination process. And that process is running through until the end of this month, where the MEC, through us, and we've put out messages across the various platforms, inviting different stakeholders to participate in this process, identifying areas where the routes are going to be determined, but also in the main indicate whether they are in support of it and what areas would they recommend be changed. At the ultimate end, Sakina, historically, we come from a past where other underserviced areas, like, for an example, the area we're looking at ultimately landing at, which is Jabulani, Soweto. And it talks to what the AA is relating to. A system that is publicly owned has to be able to reach the people where they are, and we want to go to where communities are, and that's why Soweto is the destination that we're pursuing in this particular instance. But as we go to Soweto, there are a number of areas, the special economic zones that are going to be triggered as a result of that. You just have to look at how over the years where the Gautrain stations are, the developments around it. Look at Sandton today. Sandton was not like this in 2010. all the other investors and developers who have built properties around Sandton, one key selling point is always around closer to Gautrain station. And by the way, our contribution to the economy is not just only about what we do, it's about the developments we've been able to trigger around our stations. Because that's what we need to do. We need to, investors want to know that workers will be able to access employment sites every Monday to Friday, and students wants to make sure that they will be able to take a train from Marlborough and arrive at Park Station and hop into a Rea Vaya to go to Vets campus, for an example. And that's the kind of system that we have. The next phase, of course, is to make sure that we reach areas like Soweto. But of course, it's an important point to mention that part of the post-2026, the current concession with Bombela ends in March next year. Part of the post-2026 Gautrain that we're seeing and we want to refer to as Gautrain reimagined, is to see how we introduce differentiated pricing models that recognizes the fact that the economic profile of someone in Soweto might not be the same as of someone in Sandton.
And that's going to be key.
Absolutely, that's going to be key, Sakina. I mean, you cannot have a system that's publicly owned by a democratically elected government that doesn't reach where the majorities of the people are. We have to go there. We have to, and we are not doing that because you're competing with BRASA, but we're complementing what BRASA is doing. Let's remember, national rail policy says rail must be the backbone of transport in this country. Integrated Transport Management Plan of Gauteng also places rail at the center of the growth of mobility in Gauteng. Gauteng is very small, Sakina. We're the smallest province, but with the biggest population. The numbers are growing exponentially every year. There's not enough land to build more roads. I know AA wants to contest that we should not be expanding Gautrain. There's not enough land to build roads. Rail is going to be quite an important investment, not for today, but for the future as well, so as to firstly reduce congestion, but also improve infrastructure, trigger investment where the rail network is, and also, most critical, we've got a climate change policy that says let's cut down on the carbon emission. And rail has been identified by that policy as quite a key player in cutting the country's carbon profile.
Well, very interesting, Mr. Albie Modise. We will certainly follow up on this. Gautrain spokesperson Albie Modise speaking to us there. And you heard earlier this morning from the Automobile Association putting across their point of view on this matter, and you can make up your mind.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Over the last 50 years, one man has played an unparalleled part in transforming British society. This man is Rupert Murdoch. Feared by politicians, Murdoch has built the biggest media operation on the planet. His empire has given him extraordinary power and influence. The rise of the Murdoch family is an electrifying study of the Murdoch dynasty, charting the ups and downs of an empire. From the ambition that fueled its success, to the criminality that led to the closure of the News of the World and the Leveson Inquiry. This is The Rise of the Murdoch Family. Thursdays at 10 p.m. starts 13 February, only on S3.
What you're about to hear is not a call from Standard Bank.
Hello, Ma. You just made a payment of 2,000 Rand to a store in Guatemala. Yeah, if not, please give me the OTP we've just sent to you and we'll stop this transaction.
Don't fall for it. Standard Bank will never ask you for your one-time PIN over the phone. If you suspect fraud, hang up immediately. Visit our help center on the banking app to learn more or call our fraud line on 0800 222 050. Another lesson to hashtag beat the scam. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Sakina Kamwendo on SAFM.
Hi, SAFM. Can you please find out from the SARS Commissioner and the Minister of Health and the so-called who represent the poor on why we are paying vets on medication? Medication is a right. It's not a luxury. Pharmaceutical companies are already paying for rights to operate and research costs and revenue tax. So why must we have VAT added to us on behalf of income taxpayers and Joseph?
Well, thanks so much. And another one for the team to note there. And thanks, everybody, for participating, listening in this afternoon, and, of course, to our guests and the production team. It is 1 o'clock. Here's Dineo Motaung with your latest news. Sakina, top stories. Portfolio committee raises concern over state of fuel refineries, and South Korea battles one of its worst wildfires in history. A very good afternoon. The Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources says it's concerned about the condition of some of the country's fuel refineries. The committee is on an oversight visit at Astron Energy Refinery in Cape Town. They've already visited 2 other refineries in the country. Committee chairperson Mekateko Mahlaule says they've identified that the production of high-quality fuels such as petrol and diesel, among others, is currently at its lowest. City of Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero says the Johannesburg Roads Agency JRA is working tirelessly to eradicate vandalism of traffic lights. Morero says the biggest challenge they have is copper cable theft, which inconveniences motorists and residents of the city. He was addressing members of the media in Johannesburg, where he provided an update on the progress they are making to deliver services in the city. Morero elaborates.
There is progress in resolving most problematic intersections. So far, 35 of these intersections have been repaired. We are also taking proactive measures to reduce the theft and vandalism of these intersections. Security upgrades, including controller box straps, electronic controllers, and CCTV cameras with intelligent analytics are being installed.
In other news, dozens of teenagers and young adults have escaped from alleged human traffickers in Lombardy East in Johannesburg. According to some residents, the boys are hiding in River Park. We'll have a detailed update in the next bulletin. South Africa has been ranked as the world's most dangerous country to drive in. This comes from the report The World's Safest Roads, compiled by online driver education platform Zutobi. This is the second year in a row the country has received this ranking, with the statistics highlighting areas for improvement in road safety and driver behavior. Bonolo Maribe has more.
In the World's Safest Roads report, South Africa experienced 24.5 road traffic deaths per 100,000 people, a statistic that is higher than last year. Despite the low motorway speed limit of 120 kilometers per hour, similarly to the safest country on the list, Norway, it struggles with low seatbelt usage, with only 31% of front seat passengers wearing their seatbelts. Other countries that are deemed dangerous include Thailand and the United States, whereas the aforementioned Norway, Iceland and Japan are ranked the safest. Bonolo Maribe, SABC News.
The South African Banking Risk Information Centre, SABRIC, has noted a rise in scammers using a sophisticated artificial intelligence, AI, duping many into losing millions of rand. SABRIC says South Africans are being targeted by AI-driven scams where fraudsters impersonate bank officials, create fake applications and manipulate social media to steal money. Tashlin Naidu reports.
SABRIC says scammers are using deepfake videos, voice cloning and AI-powered chatbots, allowing themselves to sound and look exactly like real banking representatives. It says a recent Standard Bank warning highlighted a fraudulent WhatsApp group promoting SPGSI Trader, a fake investment app designed to steal personal data and money. They say scammers aren't just creating fake banking apps, but also impersonating bank officials on social media, posting fake reviews and endorsements, as well as generating fake news articles to trick their victims.
Lastly, further afield, at least 24 people have been killed in the deadliest forest fires in South Korea's history. A pilot whose helicopter crashed on a mountain while helping to put out the flames is among the dead. The BBC's Rachel Lee has the details.
This is being called one of the worst wildfire disasters Korea has ever faced, and it all kicked off in Uiseong County, which is in north of the Korean peninsula. But with winds blowing at nearly 27 meters per second, the flames just quickly spread to places like nearby Andong cities and Cheongsong counties as well. So over 17,000 hectares of forest have gone up in smoke, and we're now seeing additional death toll. And many of them were older residents who couldn't get out in time.
Recapping the top story this hour, the Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources says it's concerned about the condition of some of the country's fuel refineries. For SAFM News, I'm Dino Mutaung. Headlines at 1:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
It's always, hey, choose my kettle. It's this or that, Baba. But why? Why can't I service my car and pay for my wedding service as well? With a Nedbank personal loan, that's a rhetorical question because I can do both with access of up to 400,000 Rand at the best interest rate that is customized for me.
Don't let cash flow hold you back. Apply for your Nedbank personal loan online today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Are you surprised by this plan of action from the ANC that political school or nothing? You have to go to school and pass first, essentially.
This is not the most profound intervention that is needed, but an intervention has been needed for some time. They do not know the history and the purpose of the ANC. So you cannot take those people through a crash course. That would be the equivalent of taking a pig that you see, this is a pig, and putting lipstick on it and think it will be a lady.
Political analyst Wandile Swanan is going to leave me with this image, as he said. If you find a pig, or you take a pig and you put lipstick on the pig, it's still a pig. It's not a woman with lipstick.
You're listening to the National Pulse. Missed it? Find the podcast at safm.co.za. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
langisusa lana langibeka lana olufike ngasathemba ukuthi nyoke ngithanda umuntu sanda sami ngiphendula ungibambe ungange lakho lonke lothando sithanda ngithontsheli yasephuma ilanga ekuseni yasephuma ilanga ekuseni osanda sami ngiphendula ungibambe ungange lakho lonke lothando sithanda ngithontsheli yasephuma ilanga ekuseni yasephuma ilanga ekuseni sithanda sami ngiphendula ungibambe ungange lakho lonke lothando sithanda ngithontsheli yasephuma ilanga ekuseni yasephuma ilanga ekuseni sithanda sami ngiphendula ungibambe ungange lakho lonke lothando sithanda ngithontsheli yasephuma ilanga ekuseni yasephuma ilanga ekuseni.
It is Java coming through. That is how we kick off for the show this afternoon. Hope you are having a swell day thus far. And this one, Exeni, coming through from his debut album, Isina Muva, was the debut album that came out back in 2016 and really just cementing his place as a singer-songwriter with quite the formidable following in South Africa. Good afternoon. I hope you're having a good day. We've got lots of conversation coming your way today. We are going to be catching up with a death doula. Yes, a death doula. Yesterday we were talking doulas, but talking more doulas that pertain to birth and birthing partnerships and birthing assistance. Today we are talking death doula and founder of Sacred Dying. So we want to find out what is exactly a death doula and how does having one help your grieving process. Also coming up today, we're going to be catching up with the folks from the Commercial Aviation Association of South Africa ahead of the stakeholder engagement that is happening. The other conversation of interest today is one with the statistician and director in the Social Statistics Chief Directorate at Statistics South Africa. A mouthful, but we're looking at the shifting social and cultural dynamics in South Africa, and this is based off the latest report, which unveils some interesting findings around multiracial relationships, multilingual households, and all the trends that have come out in recent years. So we'll be having that conversation a little bit later on. As per usual, our lines are open. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Feel free to send through a WhatsApp voice note if you want to be part of the conversation. And 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on if you want to weigh in live in studio. What are your thoughts around a death doula? Would you have somebody help you with your process of grieving and preparation of death? Should be very interesting. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Feel free to send us a WhatsApp note on 061-410-4107. It is The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
All right, let's get into a conversation with Mona Minar, death doula and founder of Sacred Dying. And just like birth doulas use the emotional support to bring life into the world, death doulas assist in the dying process. So we thought we'd find out more. Yesterday we were talking around birth doulas, and today we thought we'd focus a little bit on the death doula and how does having one help with your grieving process. Do you believe in such a thing, by the way, as we engage the conversation? Is this something that you would entertain perhaps for yourself and your family to assist you in your preparation of a loved one dying or in the aftermath of a loved one dying. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Love to hear your perspective on this. Mona Minar joins us now. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Thank you for the time. I mean, I feel like I just used one sentence perhaps to try and contextualize the service and the work of a death doula, but perhaps there could be more to it. Let me ask you as the expert as to, exactly what is a death doula?
A death doula is somebody that is called to work with the dying and with their families. It's not a very well-known profession because we are professionals, although we're not medical professionals. We don't do the doctor's work or hospice work or that type of professional stuff. In our own parts of life, we are professionals with working with the dying and with their families.
By way of working with, when does a death doula come into a family's space? At what point would one seek the services of a death doula?
That is a very interesting question because death doulas do not only start working with the families when there's a family member or a beloved person of the family that is preparing to die. A death doula has got many different facets that they can offer to the client. For example, if a young couple get married and they can already then invest in time with the death doula who would explain to them the importance of writing up what we call an advance directive, which would go into place. Say, for example, we know what the conditions on the roads are, and we have tragic fatalities daily on South African roads. So if, say, for example, one of them were involved in an accident on the way to work or back, and they did not return home that night, and maybe taken to a hospital where they were put on life support or something like that, and nobody knew that it was not something that the person who was dying would want. So having a death doula who has already assisted the couple or a young family in creating an advance directive, it would make it so much easier for them because they would be carrying out the wishes of the person who was facing death.
Mona, I want us to take a quick break here, a quick pause, and then we'll come back on the other side and we'll continue our conversation. And given how hesitant people are to confront death, let alone speak about death, it'd be interesting to know, how folks even begin to engage this conversation with someone like yourself. But it's just gone 20 past 1 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM. A quick pause and then we'll be right back.
Think bigger than just a banking partner. Think a team of specialized experts supporting you to make better financial decisions to enable your growth aspirations. Think a strategic partnership providing indispensable advice to help you make the right moves. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider.
Get down to Dis-Chem Pharmacies for awesome autumn savings for the whole family. Get 20% off Blade 260ml shave gels. Buy any 2 Safeguard Hygienic 1-litre shower and bath gels for only 110 Rand. Save 49 Rand 98. And get 20% off Dental Mate mouthwashes. Don't miss out. Offers valid until Sunday, 13 April. Only at Dis-Chem Pharmacies. Better health starts here.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us, because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
In conversation with the death doula and founder of Sacred Dying, Mona Minar, and we know that death is inevitable, but no person should die alone. And of course, in Western societies, many have lost touch with just the spiritual aspect of death and dying, right? And there's so many other support structures also that have come about, and some find their rooting in old ways of yesterday, and others find their expression by way of Western reimagination. So we're talking death doulas with Mona Minar. And Mona, you were mentioning advanced directives, right, which I think as adults probably a conversation that is necessary in any context of relations, whether it's family, whether it's relationship, whether it's friends. People should ultimately know what your death wishes are. But for some reason, it still causes a discomfort, even though we know that the only thing in life guaranteed are taxes and death. But death still causes a discomfort.
Yes, we hear from people who have experienced the death that they felt unprepared about what to expect as death doulas when we're working with the families. The people wish that they had a better understanding of the physical changes that are taking place as someone nears death. And this is where the death doula comes in, and they assist with open conversation with the dying family. The dying person, their family and their friends. People also say that they did not know what questions you should ask when there is a person dying, about practical or emotional issues related to the death or with the process of death. So with having a death doula at the bedside, if I say the bedside, I'm talking more now about home dying, somebody that is dying in a hospital, because hospitals are there to keep people alive. So as long as you're in hospital, they're going to try and keep you alive, because it's in today's Western society, death is thought of as a failure. We failed to keep that person alive, but everybody, as you said earlier on, has got to die. And I think going back to what death was before we handed it over to the medical fraternity to take care of the dying, we encourage people to bring their dying relatives, loved ones, family members home, where they're surrounded by love and not machines and drips and whatever. So when death is inevitable, yes, I personally encourage, if it is possible, to bring the dying person home, and with the help of a death doula. It will be so much peaceful. We help people how to create a sacred space for the dying, because death is a sacred thing. The same, I love that you mentioned that you were talking to birth doulas yesterday, and I love that your program is called Full Circle, and you're talking about death today, because this is the full circle of life. If you're born, you're going to die sometime or the other. And with the new knowledge of death doulas, it's still quite a new thing in South Africa, and although it's been going on for many years in European countries, but it's exciting to be at the forefront of teaching people how to work with the dying, how to talk to families, how to help with family members that are not coping well with the letting go process of the dying person. And this is something that families forget is that the dying person is also grieving.
Yeah.
You know, as scared as we are of letting go of them because they're going to be no more.
Yeah. Oh, I think we've just been cut from Mona there. We'll try and get her back on the line. But our WhatsApp is open if you'd like to weigh in on this conversation as we talk around death doulas, assisting loved ones and families transition from life to death, and obviously coping, as Mona was saying in the last sentiments, coping, the process of coping, of letting go of your family member, but also the person who might be the one in this instance who might be terminally ill or have a diagnosis. Also them, how to let go of life, because we don't think about the conversation from that perspective, right? How to come to terms with the inevitable. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line, and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. Now that you've heard a little bit of the conversation, would a death doula, especially in a situation where one is preparing for the passing of a sick family member or a loved one, would a death doula be something that you would consider, someone that you would consider bringing into your home, into your family, to help with that period of transition? I know perhaps it's a bit of a foreign concept for some of us, but now that you've heard the conversation, I wonder if it is something that you would consider. Mona, let's talk about, you know, how one actually becomes a death doula, because I think a lot of people will be interested in that, right? You make reference to death doulas being professionals, although they do not work within the formal sector of healthcare, of psychology practitioners and folks like that who speak to a similar kind of service and duty. How does one become a certified professional death doula?
Many of the people that contact Sacred Dying to do our death doula course, which is an online course and consists of 3 modules, have, I would say 90% of them have already been present at many family deaths. And when they phone me and they say to me that they want to become a death doula, I think it's just having experienced the sacredness of being present when somebody dies. It's unexplainable. When that last breath is taken, everything stands still in time. It is the same as when a baby is born, you know, and the baby is healthy, everything stands still in time, and we're all in awe of the wonder of it. We should return to seeing death that way as well. Even if somebody has not been present at an actual death, and they have the compassion and the empathy to work with the dying and with their families. These are the people that are drawn to doing this community work.
Let's pause here, Mona. Let's go into the headline news, and then we'll come back on the other side of this.
With the headlines at 1:30, I'm Dinoma Baum. Good afternoon. Dozens of teenagers and young adults have escaped from alleged human traffickers in Lombardy East in Johannesburg. In other news, South Africa has been ranked as the world's most dangerous country to drive in, and the Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources says it's concerned about the condition of some of the country's fuel refineries. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
All right, as we continue our conversation with Mona Minar, who is a death doula and founder of Sacred Dying, and we're talking about the work that is undertaken by death doulas, certified death doulas, to help families and loved ones transition from life into dying, and everything that needs to be considered at that point. And even if perhaps we're not dealing with a situation where a family or friends and loved ones are anticipating the passing of someone who is terminally ill, but just being able to have the conversation and guiding you through the conversation of what is really inevitable in life, which is death, right? And having conversations around the advance directive, for instance, your death plan that should be in place before any tragedy ever even takes place, which is a conversation that a lot of us really steer very, very clear away from. I know that people in my life, even if I mention the word death, they already are saging the room like I've said something so wrong. No one wants to think about it, but at some point we have to think about it. How does one find the right doula? How does one find the right death doula, Mona?
Criteria, obviously, that should be considered when you are looking for a death doula. And on our website, we are busy creating, I'm trying to think of what we call it, a death doula network.
Okay.
So people are able to go onto the network, or maybe a friend can say, I know of someone that's a death doula, and you can contact them. If the death doula is not right for that family, the death doula will have the courage, should have the courage to walk away and say that I cannot work with this family for whatever the reason may be. Especially in our country, in South Africa, there are so many different cultures, and sometimes, just the cultural differences would make a difference of who you choose to work with when you do choose a death doula.
There's so many cultural nuances that one has to think about, and then I wonder, would a and maybe in your line of profession you've come across this, like, would then a death doula be suitable for every culture? Because I'm just trying to think about just the different cultural elements, Islam versus Hindi versus Christianity. There's different beliefs at play about what death is, and even the path of transitioning to death. Islam has some very strong beliefs as well about the transitioning and the letting go of a person for in death. And I wonder, conversations around that, whether or not death doulas would be suitable, culture on culture.
One thing that I must mention is that one of the things that we stress in teaching the death doulas is you never ever discuss religion. There is so, and we can talk religion, belief systems. We can maybe bring it down to that. So, to respect whatever the belief system of the family is, and not go in with any intention that what they are believing, that and we don't necessarily believe in what they're doing, that we honor the family at the time of death of a loved one. So if the death doula is not compatible, I wouldn't say that it would be because of any belief systems. It could just be a personality difference. I'm sure if I say to you, sometimes you meet a person and you just hit it off, and you can talk for something on any topic for hours, and afterwards you feel, that was so lovely. And another time you'll meet someone and you'll think, I want to get away from this person as quickly as possible. So I think a lot of it is also to have clarity in the fact that there is no difference between any of us when it comes to dying. Dying is a sacred procedure, and after the death has taken place, the family would obviously continue with the rituals that they normally perform when the person has died, and the death doula could still assist in that. They could help if the family wanted them to help in preparing the body or washing the body. And even after death has taken place, You know, there's many things that, many hats that a death doula can wear. One thing I want to also mention is, which to me is one of the most beautiful things of being a death doula, is we offer legacy projects. So a young mom who may be terminally ill and she's got young children that she will not see going to school or getting married and having the first grandchild, and that the death doula would assist them with doing a legacy project. So maybe when the child gets married, there's a letter that could be read from mom who died 15 years prior to that. So yes, we do. We have many different if I say options, I don't like the word options because it's not an option, it's a gift. We have many gifts of love that we can offer to family members and to the person that is dying, because that is what makes a death doula. The compassionate, empathic, loving, serving person.
Yeah. Someone wants to know, Unondu, in KZN wants to know, Mona, which council are death doulas under? Do you guys have like a governing council, a governing supervising body?
No. Unfortunately, there is no governing body on death doulas. I actually read a book by a lady who started death doula work in the UK, and she actually said that she doesn't want to become a professional thing, to have a body that will say that you can do this and you can't do that, because then you take the compassion and the what can I say? There are guidelines that you're working in, obviously, and you must stay in those guidelines. But if you've got this governing body that says you can't do this and you can't do that, it's not take the gentleness away.
I wonder, Mona, to Nondu's point, if there is no sort of governing body, no death doulas of South Africa's institution, for instance, that oversees and ensures that doulas stick to even the prescribed guidelines, how do we then ensure checks and balances by way of the service and the conduct of death doulas at a very sensitive time for families? And also, how do you also regulate things like monetary compensation, for instance? Because I'm presuming death doulas are not just doing families a favor here. It is a pro quo service that you are rendering for a rate. How do you then regulate all those kinds of things?
All right, globally there is no regulator. So in my case, with the Sacred Eye in South Africa, it takes anything from 4 months to a year, depending on how much time the student has available to go through our training modules. And I spend a lot of time on the phone with people that are doing the course, and by the time they've finished it, we've got a WhatsApp group as well, where we stay connected and we share things with each other. So we've become a family. It's not a group of people that if you phoned and said to me, I need somebody in Alberton to come and assist, I would immediately think of who I could send to you, knowing that they would go and they would give a good service. Just being in contact with them,
And from a monetary perspective, I mean, how do you then scale the rates and services of a death doula if there's no structure to the profession and to the service?
We do have a recommended service, that maybe you can say to the person, you need respite care, let me come and sit with your loved one for 2 hours and you go and have sleep, because I can see that you haven't slept, and things like that. So yes, there are guidelines available, but what I say to the death doulas as well is this isn't a profession that you are going to make a lot of money out of. And if that is your goal, I would rather that you go and find another place to do your coursework, because it's done in love, whether it's done together. And also another thing, when death takes place, there's no money left. There's no medical aid left. The families sometimes don't even have enough money for food. When, if it's a major breadwinner that is dying. So this is, it's a voluntary thing. If you feel that maybe you travel in an hour, and you can say to them if you want to give a donation towards petrol or something. But
point well taken. Point well taken, Mona. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. We're going into a break at the moment, but we appreciate the time with you. That was Mona Minar, and she is a death doula and founder of Sacred Dying. Hope you got some information around this very intimate conversation. It's just gone 20 to 2 o'clock. It's time for us to take a quick pause.
It was fast, easy, and he gave me the best quote. My savings is 644 rand. Come join our insurance and save some money.
Nice one, Lebo. Saving 644 Rand a month on your 2019 Mazda CX-3 would also make you so happy you might drop a beat. Outsurance clients know what it feels like to be on the winning side. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Switch and save today. Outsurance is always looking for ways to save you money. They are also committed to settling valid claims fairly and quickly. No hassles.
You know your claim is going to be taken care of and you've got support along the journey.
SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Turn your vision into reality with Vodacom Business. Get the Samsung Galaxy S25 on a Red Business 1.7 gig contract for 1,129 Rand per month over 24 months. Enhance your deal. Add 69 Rand extra per month over 24 months and get the Samsung Galaxy Watch 7 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom Business.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
How far down the line do you think you need to go to achieve that? Because, the key part here is there's two words, foreigners, but before that the prefix illegal. So we are talking about undocumented as opposed to documented foreigners, right?
Absolutely. But remember, we also want to emphasize the fact that even with the legal ones, we know that there's been a lot of corruption that goes with identity fraud at Home Affairs. So that we're not isolating as well. So we term those documented but fraudulently documented illegal immigrants as illegal immigrants. So all of that for us is a struggle, and we feel like the beginning of it is by securing our borders, first of all, and ensuring that the ones that are here are deported.
Jacinta Nkobese Zuma, who's one of the organizers of the March in March.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
The South African Council for Education denounces violence against teachers and violations of their dignity and humanity. It therefore calls upon the public, parents and learners to protect and respect teachers' rights because their rights are human rights too. Let us show them appreciation, respect and the support that they deserve.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right. So on the back of that conversation, actually, let's go to WhatsApp and hear some of your thoughts around death doulas. It can be a bit of an emotive, sensitive topic. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. No one ever really wants to talk about death or the preparation for death, but it is necessary for us to have these conversations. from time to time, as uncomfortable as they might be and as sensitive as they might be, they are very, very necessary indeed. So we'd love to hear what your thinking is around death doulas. I think for me, given everything that Mona has said, I think for me, just the area of concern would be around the regulating of the death doulas, right? How do you ensure the proper sort of structure around them and the proper adherence to guidelines by way of the services? Because your interpretation of what is, let's say, for instance, a cultural sensitivity and my interpretation of what is a cultural sensitivity could be completely different. Although I do understand also the vital work that they do in providing support, companionship, guidance, and helping you along the process, and even along some of the planning that must come when death is inevitable. But this is why we have these conversations. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line.
Hi, Bridget and your guest. This is Jordan. I love the concept around death doulas, and I think it's a wonderful philosophy because death is going to happen whether we like it or not. It's just a matter of time for all of us, right? And what I've seen is most people tend to struggle to cope with a death of a loved one, right? So some people even end up killing themselves or becoming drug addicts or alcoholics. You see, so having someone who's going to guide you around this tough time is, I believe, helpful, right? So I love this philosophy.
And I think maybe the other positive aspect of it is, because some people might go, but we have families, right? Especially as Africans, people go, but we have families and we've relied on our family and community structures. But there's emotions involved on either side. And if you have to make decisions around death, it can sometimes be very heated, or make decisions when death is at the door. It can be heated, and maybe just having that third party, that person who's uninvolved and unattached from that perspective, and it's just there to move the process along. If that is what you require, maybe that's also another aspect where death doulas could plug in. We'd continue hearing your thoughts throughout the course of the day. Our WhatsApp remain open for you to send through whatever your thinking is. We're going to take a quick pause, and then we come back and we'll catch up with the Commercial Aviation Association of Southern Africa.
This is a story of Vodacom's impact.
Having the psychosocial support team has benefited us a lot. You're now able to refer to a specialist. We can accredit that to Vodacom.
This is why we do it. We've deployed psychosocial professionals specializing in GBV and bullying across 30 schools of excellence and ECD centers, helping over 30,000 learners. That's why we're the #1 CSI contributor for 8 years running. See more at now.vodacom.coza. Further together, Vodacom.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
Have you recently migrated to the new TV licenses payment website? Make sure your account stays active by registering again or resetting your password. Don't miss out on all the fantastic new features our brand new website offers. Get registered today and stay connected with us. With the new website, get your payments done quickly and hassle-free with a wide range of services. So make sure you register to take advantage of all the great client features. Visit www.tvlic.co.za today. TV licenses, do it for the things that matter.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
Sometimes it just makes me want to dance. We are catching up with Kevin Story now, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Commercial Aviation Association of Southern Africa. And we want to find out about this stakeholder engagement breakfast that they are hosting ahead of the AAD 2026. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing well, Bridget, to you and all your listeners.
Thank you so much for the time. I mean, as the name suggests, the Commercial Aviation Association of Southern Africa. But give us more by way of the institution and the governing body and what it oversees in the industry.
So we refer to it as CASA, so just as the acronym. It looks after, in layman's terms, everything that isn't an airline and a recreational aircraft. So your air ambulances, the maintenance, all the organizations that maintain the aircraft, all the charter companies, the drones that you see flying around, which is a lovely aircraft. Mm-hmm. We look after the interests of all those companies and their commercial operations and lobby the regulator, lobby the government organizations. That's basically what we do, and look after the rights of these aviators and these companies to grow jobs and make sure that aviation is first and foremost in Africa.
I see. You see, it's always a good thing to ask because I never thought of it from that perspective. I was thinking of everything that is a commercial airline, not everything that isn't. So you are hosting the Stakeholder Engagement Breakfast, and this is ahead of the Africa Aerospace and Defense. Tell me firstly, just the context of the Africa Aerospace and Defense. And then obviously the stakeholder engagement and how that speaks to that and what will be under discussion.
Okay, so the African Aerospace and Defense Exhibition, it's held every 2 years. Our next edition comes up in 2026, so this is an early start to prepare for that. Basically what it is 3 companies that have partnered with the Department of Defense and SAF, namely Armscor, AMD, so the South African Aerospace and Maritime Defense Industry Association, and then obviously ourselves, CASA. And we've put this exhibition together since 2000, so quite a long time ago, and it's grown from being in Cape Town. Now it's at Waterkloof in the lovely city of Tshwane. So it puts the very best of our commercial aviation, our defense capabilities, our maritime capabilities. We showcase those. We align it with an air show, which the public love. They come for 2 days to see military aircraft and civilian aircraft burning holes in our sky, which is beautiful for the public. And the most important part is that we bring delegations from all the countries, especially Africa and Europe, and our BRICS countries. We bring them together and we discuss, share ideas, show new technologies, make new partnerships, make new deals, try and grow business both within South Africa, Africa, and within the world as a whole. And that's what we put on. And it lasts 5 days. Our next exhibition will be from the 16th to the 20th of September in 2026. So to get that going, we like to ensure that our sponsors, potential sponsors, our partners, are all involved, and we do that at Stakeholders Breakfast, which is what we are hosting on Friday, and we discuss what was good, what was bad, what we're going to be doing new, and put the focus on it, and basically get that lovely wheel running so that the best of South Africa can be put forward.
How do we fare, by the way, Kevin, from a business and I guess perhaps a development and innovation perspective? Where does South Africa sit in the aerospace and defense technologies sector?
I think you have to put it in perspective. Obviously, COVID was quite a debilitating time, and aviation in South Africa hasn't yet recovered. We still don't have the passenger numbers yet. We're nearly there. And in the defense side, I think we've got quite significant role players here. Our diamond sponsor, Milcor, manufactures incredible equipment that is used the world over, from glide bombs to surveillance aircraft, etc. We've got multiple companies that are involved in the drone spaces with those sorts of technologies. And obviously, you're aware of Denel and Arms Corps and all of the fantastic equipment that we have built. Take the Royvalk, for example. Obviously, it's a bit dated now, but that's the level of technology and capacity that we have in South Africa. And then on a recreational side, it's arguable to say that South Africa produces one of the best gliders in the world with Yonker sailplanes. So we have some fantastic talent in South Africa. We've got fantastic companies that really the world can utilize. Most of South Africa may not be aware that we build components for Boeing, for Airbus. There's various other elements that we are involved in South Africa. So while we might be at the bottom of Africa, we have quite a big footprint going into the world, and our expertise is world-renowned.
You see, I actually didn't know any of that sort of innovation and being at the forefront of some of these groundbreaking industry technologies. One of the things that I found impressive a couple of years ago, traveling to Ethiopia on the invite of Ethiopian Air, was just like how much of a 360 holistic offering they've built in the commercial planes industry there, and assembling engines for one of them, Airbus or Boeing. I think it was Boeing at the time, being a accredited service center this side of the world. And I thought to myself, well, I wonder if South Africa, where do we sit and where do we scale? And I think you've just painted a beautiful picture of that. Is there opportunity for young innovators and sort of young groundbreakers in South Africa as well to exploit in these sectors?
Absolutely. As you're aware, we have probably the highest youth unemployment rate in the world. And it is a focus, I believe, of this government, but also of industry. It needs to be a partnership on that. Where we come in at AAD, we have an excellent youth development program. You've probably heard about it. Last year, we put 11,000 learners through. It's through a program called STEM. So as far as that is, it's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We're expanding that a bit this year with a new acronym, which is quite cool, called STEAM. So we add the aviation element into that, and we bring learners from all our provinces. Often some of the kids will come on their first flights ever, bringing us with our partners, etc., such as Airlink and various of those companies. And we bring them to the event, and we put them through a program to show them what jobs are available, what studies are available, where they can fit in, how they could make aviation and the defense industry and the aerospace industry as well a home for them and a possible employment area and a career opportunity. So we really look at that, and we're looking at doing more in those, and we have interactions right the way from now all the way through till when we actually deliver the show in September of 2026.
Awesome.
And I think that is where we need to target. And you'll recall the Minister of Defense said that the youth was a critical element. I think all of the ministers are looking at that. And if we don't look after the youth, I think South Africa won't have a lovely history to show to the world in 50 years' time. So we have to focus on that.
Absolutely. Kevin Story, please keep us abreast on all the activities leading up to that exhibition on the 16th all the way through to the 20th of September. That was Kevin, Chief Executive Officer, the Commercial Aviation Association of Southern Africa, bringing us to exactly 2 o'clock on the dot. Dineo is standing by with the news.
Thank Thank you, Bridget. Top stories. Dozens escape alleged human traffickers in Johannesburg, and Turkey's main opposition party calls for mass rally. A very good afternoon. Dozens of teenagers and young adults that were allegedly kidnapped for trafficking have been taken to Sandringham police station for processing. They are believed to have escaped from a house that they were being held captive in at Lombardy East in Johannesburg. The victims are believed to be Ethiopian and Somalian nationals. Eyewitnesses told SABC News that they heard screams and people running towards River Park. Calvin Gilder reports.
After being processed in Nombu, they will be taken to a place of safety. We have been trying to communicate with the members of the South African Police Service that we need to speak to Colonel Katleho Mohale from the Hawks, and Katleho Mohale was still gathering information. Told that the police officials were here and they have left. They were here to take statements from neighbors, and they have to come inside this house. And I have to tell you, this place has not been cordoned off.
In court news, the case against 2 suspects arrested in connection with the murder of 6 people at the Merimi informal settlement in Soshanguve has been postponed to the 1st of April at the Pretoria North Magistrates Court. The suspects, who were arrested on Monday, are facing charges of murder, attempted murder and possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition. 4 of the victims remain in hospital, while 2 have since been discharged. Session Naidu reports.
The 2 suspects made a brief appearance in the dock before their cases were postponed to Tuesday next week. Proceedings were held in camera as the state says an ID parade still needs to be conducted for both the suspects. According to the Hawks, the same 2 suspects are allegedly linked to other murders and house robberies that were committed last month. The suspects, aged 27 and 50, who were arrested on Monday, were allegedly also found in possession of unlicensed firearms. Sasha Naidu, SABC News, Pretoria North.
In other news, the Portfolio Committee on Mineral and Petroleum Resources says it's concerned about the condition of some of the country's fuel refineries. The committee is on an oversight visit at Astron Energy Refinery in Cape Town. They've already visited 2 other refineries in the country. Committee Chairperson Mekateko Mahlaule says they've identified that the production of high-quality fuels such as petrol and diesel, among others, is currently at its lowest. Moving to the Eastern Cape, thousands of residents have been left stranded following a storm that ripped through various parts of the province. The Elundi local municipality, as well as the Walter Sisulu, Chris Hani and Amatole municipalities, are among the 8 that have been affected by the storm. Humanitarian organization Gift of the Giver says infrastructure has been severely hit, with electricity cut off in certain areas, roads washed away and water treatment plants affected. Gift of the Giver's spokesperson Ali Sable says they've stepped in to assist.
There are calls coming in where homes have been partially or completely flattened by the recent storms. Our teams will be assisting the families with emergency food supplies, blankets, mattresses, clean drinking water, and baby care packs. Word on the ground is that over 28,000 people are without electricity. There's also water supplies has also been cut due to the damages of the electricity poles.
Lastly, further afield, Turkey's main opposition party has called for a mass rally on Saturday. It's demanding early elections over the detention of Istanbul's mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu. The BBC's Emily Withers has the details.
For 7 nights now, Turkey's streets have fizzed with anger, with tens of thousands out in Istanbul and in other cities, including the capital, Ankara. At a Ramadan fast-breaking event in Ankara, President Erdogan met with students, urging them to show patience and common sense. At the same time, students in Istanbul filled the streets in the centre of the city, blocking roads in a protest march that stretched for blocks. At the City Hall, the leader of the opposition told crowds at his final rally there that today they will elect an acting mayor for Istanbul.
Recapping the top story this hour, dozens of teenagers and young adults that were allegedly kidnapped for trafficking have been taken to Sandringham police station for processing. They are believed to have escaped from a house that they were being held captive in at Lombardy East in Johannesburg. For SAFM News, I'm Dina Mutaung. Headlines at 2:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Are you surprised by this plan of action from the ANC that political school or nothing? You have to go to school and pass first, essentially.
This is not the most profound intervention that is needed, but an intervention has been needed for some time. They do not know the history and the purpose of the ANC. So you cannot take those people through a crash course. That would be the equivalent of taking a pig that you see, this is a pig, and putting lipstick on it and think it will be a lady.
Political analyst Wandile Swanan is going to leave me with this image, as he said, if you find a pig or you take a pig and you put lipstick on the pig, it's still a pig. It's not a woman with lipstick.
You're listening to the National Pulse. Missed it? Find the podcast at safm.co.za. These are the weekend shows on SAFM. Music of Africa with Sheila Ndikumana. The Jet Set Breakfast with Michelle Constant. Seasons with Khomotso KG Mweketsi. The Soundtrack of Your Life with Ernest Pillay. Weekend Sundowner Classics with Kutlwano Masote. Spotlight with Zai Khan. The Weekend with John Kherika. Rhythm of Africa with Sheila Ndikumana. This is SAFM. This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories, SAFM is leading the conversations that move us. Because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Yazi. This is how we get into this hour of the show. Always loved her voice. She came to visit us. Was it last year, beginning of the year? Last year, she came for full access. We had a lovely time. And she came to us. We were on OB that day. We were at a golf day, and she decided to come and join us at our golf day. We had a good old conversation. Speaking of good old conversations, hoping to have one now with my next guest, and we're looking at the shifting social and cultural dynamics in South Africa. And that conversation is coming in just a moment with Solly Mulai, who's with Statistics South Africa. But before we even get to that, I actually wanted to remind you, before I forget, right? I wanted to remind you of Iziko Museums of South Africa. And, they've reached that monumental milestone, the bicentenary of the South African Museum. We actually spoke to them 2 weeks ago. They were established back in 1825. And, of course, the iconic institution houses more than 10 million artifacts and specimens and is a window to our planet's past, holding the keys to unearth the secrets of our histories. And you can step into the future, you can reimagine, and you can explore, and of course join Iziko on an adventure as they mark 200 years. They've got a great itinerary rolling out for the remainder of the year, and we'll keep you abreast with all the activities that are going on there. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll get into that conversation.
Equality, human dignity, freedom of movement and residence, life. Everyone has the right to life. Human Rights Month on SAFM.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, my guest Solly Mulai joins us now, statistician and director in the Social Statistics Chief Directorate at Statistics South Africa. It's a mouthful, Solly. We're talking around the shifting social and cultural dynamics in South Africa and unpacking some of the stats essay report that's revealing some key findings here about our cultural and social dynamics. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good, Bridget, and good day to the listeners.
Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. So we know that the country's cultural and social landscape is currently undergoing some profound change, right? And this was revealed in the Statistics South Africa's latest report titled Cultural Dynamics in South Africa, covering trends from 1996 to 2022. Before we even get to understanding what the report speaks to, Solly, but perhaps let's also get to understand the context by which such reports are necessary, given, of course, the constant evolution of social and political dynamics in the country.
Thank you so much. And I think the reason why StatSA decided to put together a report, it comes from the background to after we've conducted a census 2022. And as a country, because we have already done 4 censuses starting from 1996, so we felt that there's a need for us to provide an insight into our cultural diversity in South Africa, but most important, Bridget, it's also to advance the awareness and promotion of social cohesion in South Africa. And I think if you look at 1996 up until 2022, is 26 years, and as we are celebrating our 30 years of democracy, I think as a statisticians and also as a National Statistics Agency, we wanted to bring this information, but using the data and profiling some of the patterns we are seeing from the cultural perspective using the census data.
Solly, you know what I want to do, if you beg our indulgence for a second, I just want to try and swap your line to our WhatsApp line and perhaps get a far more clearer line. Apologies for that. We've just recently changed studios as recent as yesterday, and so we're still trying to iron out some of the audio kinks. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back on the other side, hopefully with a clearer line to Solly.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
How far down the line do you think you need to go to achieve that? Because, I mean, the key part here is there's two words, foreigners, but before that the prefix illegal. So we are talking about undocumented as opposed to documented foreigners, right?
Absolutely. But remember, we also want to emphasize the fact that even with the legal ones, we know that there's been a lot of corruption that goes with identity fraud at Home Affairs. So that we're not isolating as well. So we term those documented but fraudulently documented illegal immigrants as illegal immigrants. So all of that for us is a struggle, and we feel like the beginning of it is by securing our borders, first of all, and ensuring that the ones that are here are deported.
Jacinta Nkobese Zuma, who's one of the organizers of the March in March.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Durban is excited to welcome visitors this Easter season. You can join the family-friendly fun with unforgettable day tours along the Golden Mile, indoor and outdoor adventures, and delicious culinary delights. So don't miss the grand opening of the Western Square on the 27th of March. Durban's newest lifestyle destination in Shongweni, by the way. This major multi-million rand project is set to transform the city's western corridor. As Africa's event capital, Durban will host major events this season, including the joyous celebration Easter Megafest, as well as the pre-Easter Gospel Festival. And you can discover the excitement in Africa's playground. And for more details and Easter packages, visit www.visitdurban.travel. Hashtags Durban Easter 2025 and discover Durban. Hashtag Visit Durban.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga.
All right, as we continue our conversation with Solly Mulai with the Statistics South Africa, and we're talking around this report, Cultural Dynamics in South Africa. Solly, walk us through some of the notable findings that came out of this report, especially as they pertain to matters around, for instance, multiracial marriages and multilingual households in the country.
Okay. Thank you so much, Bridget. So let's look at the issue around languages, because we are seeing that in terms of our linguistic landscape is actually shifting in South Africa. Although we're seeing that isiZulu is still dominating as a most spoken language in South Africa, followed by isiXhosa, Afrikaans, and isiPedi. So what we are also picking up from the report is that we're starting to see that we do have now what we call the multi-language, meaning multilingual household, meaning these are the households that speak more than one languages. And I think this is an increase from 3.5% in 1996, and by 1992 we're sitting around 9.4%. And most of these households, we find them in the Western Cape and Gauteng. And maybe the other thing that I also want to point it out, Bridget, is that if you look at the languages, you see the dominance of languages in different provinces. Gauteng is the only province where we don't see a dominant language. And again, it's because of the other research that we have done around the migration patterns in Gauteng. We're seeing that most people are coming from outside, meaning our international migration. They mostly come to Gauteng as a destination, the preferred destination. And even within the South Africa, Limpopo, for example, you find that most of the people are coming from Limpopo. They are mostly likely to go to Gauteng as a preferred. And then again, it's because of Gauteng as our economic hub. In Western Cape, it is the second province where we are also seeing the similar pattern again.
And I mean, I guess you're right. That speaks to the economic opportunities, right, that people are finding in these these metros, these urban metros that ultimately lead everybody there. But then what does this tell us, Solly, by way of the multilingual households, right, and this shift in the positive? There's been an increase in multilingual household. What does this tell us about language preservation? Because there's always the conversation about how do we preserve language in its purest forms. So if we're all amalgamating and becoming one, what does that mean for language preservation down the line?
Yes, and I think this is where the researchers and the scholars who are in this space will supposed to help us to say how do we now making sure that when you go, let me just share with the listeners and yourself some of the analysis that we have done. So what we have done also is that we look at the household, the spoken languages, and then we say what are the education progression of those particular households who are speaking a certain languages. And what we found is that those who are speaking English as the most spoken language in the household, they are most likely to go and complete grade 12 after completing the grade 9, compared to the rest of the other languages, like your Setswana, Sepedi. And similarly also even for those who are most likely to complete the bachelor degree, you find that those who are most likely to speak English in the households, they are most likely to complete the degree. Again, it goes back to your point that you are saying that we will have to find a way how we are bringing our African languages that are so having much of a history and rich history also, Bridget, to our, especially our higher education and also within the school systems, make sure that we can able to speak the languages, but at the same time also we are able to learn the languages.
Absolutely. And one of the other interesting aspects also of this study was looking at the increase in multiracial marriages. Talk to us about those figures.
We are finding that if we can start with the population groups in South Africa, we know that we do have our population group, the 4 population group, the Black, African, Colored, Indian, and White. What we are seeing that there is an upward trend in terms of the percentage of households nationally. But then for white population, we're seeing a reverse. We're seeing that there's very few households now. And again, we're also seeing in another studies in terms of our estimation of population. We're seeing that the white population, in terms of the volume is increasing, but in terms of the share, it's decreasing. And again, it has to do with when you look at those who are living the country, majority of them are coming from the white population. So from the household perspective, we are also seeing the similar thing. Now, when you get into the multiracial household, we're starting to see that actually we are having more of multiracial household, meaning we're having household where you find there's a combination of Black African and White or Black African and Colored. When you compare to the previous censuses, we are sitting around now about 11% of the household. And this, again, it also goes back to the point that they were saying that the reason why we wrote this is just to show you the pattern that you're observing, and also the modern lifestyle and the relationships that we are seeing across our communities and also within different population groups.
I like the figures there, Salt, because it speaks to the conversation around social cohesion and racial integration. We're clearly making slow but steady progress, even though perhaps it's not reflected by way of other media that we consume that reflects the changes, but the changes are happening on the ground.
Yes, definitely. And we can see that the numbers, as I say, the numbers are not, we from our side, what we always do is that we always run the numbers as raw as they are, and then we are sharing with the public to say these are the things that we are observing. And I agree with you that we may misled probably by what you are reading from the social media, but from the number side we are start seeing this, and one will have to see as we are collecting this information where are we going to and how the trend is going to look like in the next few years.
As we hone in some more on that marriage, the marriage proportions, right? They also show significant disparities. You're talking amongst the different racial groups. 58%, if I understand correctly, 58% of Caucasian South Africans getting married versus 19% of Black African South Africans getting married. What does that tell us?
I think this is a question that since we released this report, I've been getting it, and I think we need to look at it from the context. Let's look at the percentage of those in the household who indicated whether are they married or living together as husband and wife, or divorced, or those who have never married. And what we are seeing is that we're seeing a trend in terms of where those who say they are legally married, it's actually dropping over time. Those who said never marriage, it's increasing. And we are also seeing that those who are saying I'm living together like husband and wife, I think Bridget, loosely we call it a fat and set.
Yes.
That also, it's also increasing. And now when you look at it by a population group, we're seeing that the Black Africans recorded the highest percentage above the national averages when it comes to the issue of never married. So, but again, we need to bring context into it, because we know that me and you and the listeners probably were aware that when we say marriage in the Black culture, there is some other processes that we're following in terms of paying lobola and all this, which again, if you overlay it with the indicators that we are collecting from the income side, again, against the population group vis-a-vis the white population group, one bring that inside, you could tell that for us to get into a situation where we say officially we are married, there is some cost that we have to think about it, or else probably in the other culture, they don't necessarily have all these other things that they need to do by the time they have to be legally or through their own processes to be deemed as being married. Yeah, so those are the contexts that we are bringing. So it's not to say that Black Africans, they are shying away from marriages, because I think that's the narrative that I've got from many people. We have to bring the context of cost that comes with it.
Yes.
And what we have also done, Bridget, just maybe to give you some insight, is that if you look at the numbers that are coming from Home Affairs, because we're working with Home Affairs and we released the report on marriages and divorces, it's also confirming the same numbers. If you look at over time, the number of marriages that have been registered at Home Affairs, again, is showing a drop. Again, it's also, when you profile it with the population group, again, we're seeing the similar trend. So it is I think from us as statistician, when you're seeing the two data sets sort of confirming the same trend, it means that it's something that one have to think about the cost that comes with coming with the marriage or the union itself.
Absolutely, the effects of the economy and social aspects. And we fast run out of time, Solly, for this, because I wanted to get into also the unofficially spoken languages in the country, maybe in less than a minute. Talk to us about that, because Shona sits at number one, and I understand why. In fact, I understand why all three are sitting there as the top three unofficially spoken languages.
Yes, it has to do with our proximity to the countries like Zimbabwe and Zambia, and again, it's also the migration patterns that we know and that we are seeing from the other surveys. So that's the reason why we're seeing the three languages as the most the non-official languages are dominating in South Africa. Yeah,
it's such an informative data, this, and I wish we had more time. But we thank you for the moment. That was Solly Mulai joining us there, statistician, director in the Social Statistics Chief Directorate at Statistics South Africa. And by the way, those three most spoken unofficial languages in South Africa are Shona, obviously, proximity to Zimbabwe, Chichewa and Chiwa, proximity to Zambia, and then Portuguese, proximity to Mozambique. Makes all the sense in the world. Fala Português? You fala um bocadinho. It's just gone 2:30 right here on The Full Circle.
With the headlines at 2:30, I'm Dino Motaung. Good afternoon. Deputy Higher Education Minister Mimi Gondwe says her department is clamping down on unregistered educational institutions in the country. In other news, dozens of teenagers and young adults that were allegedly kidnapped for trafficking have been taken to Sandringham Police Station for processing. They are believed to have escaped from a house that they were being held captive in at Lombardy East in Johannesburg. And lawyers for a prominent senior doctor in Gaza, who was the director of the Carmel Adwan Hospital, says Israel has extended his detention for another 6 months. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
SABC Education, in partnership with the Department of Health and Dilifala Bantwana, bring you episode 17 of the side-by-side drama season 4, focused on oral health.
Say and say, side by side.
Singama Africa, Kenya, you, Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you, Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you, Tina.
Oh, Domino, my baby, what's wrong? Okay, let me see. Oh, Dumi, you made a poofy. And it's a bit runny. I hope there isn't a stomach virus going around. First to Amanda, now you. Auntie, please,
What is it, Lupumzo?
No help.
Okay, rest, relax. Okay, let me see. Okay.
Dumi.
Oh, okay.
Dumi has a runny tummy. I think he's caught a virus. Please help.
Let me see. Are you feeling okay, baby?
Oh, what is it?
Okay, wait. From the looks of it, I think he is growing another 2 teeth.
Teeth kandani? No, man, auntie, he's never gotten sick when he has teeth. I think it's stomach bug. I read about it in my textbooks.
Listen, I know. From experience and checking him right now, this upset stomach is caused by teething.
I'm gonna get a second opinion, Dumi. Let's go to the clinic. Come.
Thank you, grade 7s. That'll be all for today. The results of your tests are up on the board outside. Please, go have a look. And if you need to improve, put in the work. Now, class dismissed.
Sir, can I talk to you?
Yes, Mange.
Well, I was actually wondering if you can help me with my work after school.
I'm sorry, but I have other engagements.
It won't take long, sir, please.
I have a meeting this afternoon.
But I really need you to help me.
Imange, I'm very busy, so I suggest you find a study buddy to help you.
How? A study buddy? What's that supposed to mean?
Excuse me? I don't like your tone. It means what it means. And now, please, if you don't have anything to ask, I suggest you run along or you'll be late for your next class.
Yeah? Okay, thank you, Mr. Marquez.
Pleasure.
Lupumzo, I heard that you went to see Nurse Tandi.
I did.
And what did she say about Dumisani?
That it's teething.
Sorry. I couldn't hear what you were saying.
She said that it was teething that caused Dumi's running tummy.
Oh, wow. And how did she come about that conclusion? Could it be the fact that she has years of experience working with children? Or the fact that she's actually completed her studies in a medical center?
Okay, Auntie, there's no need to be sarcastic.
Just like there was no need to act like an arrogant know-it-all this morning.
I'm sorry. I'm just really worried about Utomi.
I know you were. But I would never give you wrong advice. Not to you and not to my patients. I made an oath to care for my people. And I mean it all the time.
Okay, Auntie.
I believe you. So, what did we learn today?
That teething can make babies' tummies run. It's an uncomfortable and irritable process. She also showed me how to brush Dumi's teeth, even though I already knew how to do that.
Well, that's Nurse Thandi for you. Very thorough.
She also said that before any teeth come out, I must wipe down his gums with a gauze or a soft wet washcloth. Once his teeth are there, I must keep them clean. And I have to use the right set of tools. It's important to have a toothbrush designed specifically for their babies, which will have a much smaller head to fit in their tiny mouths.
She's right. And keeping Dumi's gums clean allows you to fight off bacteria while also helping to relieve soreness from teething.
How do I do that?
I'll show you this afternoon. But you just need to dip a piece of clean gauze in water and wrap the cloth around your pointer finger. But since Dumi is teething, you must wet the corner of the gauze and then place it in the freezer to help numb the soreness. Okay? Then gently rub the gauze along his gums at least once per day. Okay. And then, because he is already eating solids, you need to repeat the step after each and every meal.
Okay, Auntie. I want Dumi to have big, strong teeth.
Now, that depends on his diet and as well as how often he eats. A lot of the foods and drinks that keeps him in good health are also good for his teeth. So make sure you offer him a balanced diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables.
Okay, and I read that calcium is good for building strong teeth?
Yes. Calcium will help him grow stronger bones and teeth. Dairy products like cheese and milk are a good source of calcium.
What if toddlers don't like milk? I know that Amanda doesn't like cow's milk that much.
Then Kanya can give her other dairy products instead, like yogurt and cheese. Leafy green vegetables, nuts, and soya are also good for source of calcium.
Oh, there are lots of options.
There are plenty. That's why it's important to give your child a balanced diet.
Okay.
Yes,
Singama Africa, Kenya, you. Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you. Tina. Singama Africa, Kenya, you. Tina.
Join us again tomorrow as we sit down with an expert at 2:30 to further discuss oral health care right here on SAFM.
Say and say. Side by side.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. Your screen, your story. Together, we make it happen.
This Human Rights Month, SAFM is deepening a culture of social justice and human rights. It's a time to reflect, engage, and take action for a more just society. From thought-provoking discussions to powerful stories,
SAFM is leading the conversations that move us because your voice matters, your rights matter, and together we shape a better future. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Iziko Museums of South Africa has reached a monumental milestone, the bicentenary of the South African Museum, which was established back in 1825. And this iconic institution, housing more than 10 million artifacts and specimens, is a window of our planet's past and holds the keys to unearth the secrets of our histories. You can step into the future, reimagine, explore, and join Iziko on an adventure as they mark 200 years.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are catching up now with Elizabeth Mukwena, a powerhouse in the FMCG industry, selected as the jewelry president for the 2025 IAB South Africa Bookmarks Awards. And the awards stand as a beacon of excellence that recognize outstanding achievement in digital creativity, strategy, and execution. How are you doing this afternoon, Elizabeth?
I'm fantastic now that I'm talking to you, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. It sounds like a big deal, right? Selected as the jewelry president for the 2025 IAB South Africa Bookmark Awards. I think first and foremost, let's get some background around the IAB South Africa Bookmark Awards. And then obviously, what does it mean to be the jewelry president and the responsibility that comes with it?
Yeah, it is. It's such a big deal. And it's such a great honor to be asked to be jury president this year. It's, of course, been, like you said, the beacon of excellence and standards in terms of digital marketing. It's 17 years in. And, of course, this is where we look to for work that inspires the next level of excellence, whether it is the talent that enters the work that's happening, the thought leadership kind of sessions that are hosted as part of the build-up to the awards level. So that's exciting. It's an exciting space to be in. I am honored to be the jury president and looking forward, to recognizing great creative work and the people behind it. And also, I think, setting a new standard of what we as South Africans can deliver to the global industry in terms of digital marketing and creative effectiveness. And
I can imagine, Elizabeth, there's been such an interesting dynamism and shift in digital marketing that it would make for this year's awards even more interesting as you gauge how far the creative industries and creative communication has come, and how much further it still has to go by way of innovation and creativity.
Absolutely, Bridget. I think, it's very true for all of us that media channels and how consumers are interacting with marketing and advertising is changing, The fact that all of us have a phone and you can wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and decide to buy something means that whilst our traditional channels like TV and radio are still super important, how we supercharge continued connection with consumer bases and who is actually speaking to consumers has really widely changed. So, of course, in this year, there are categories like performance marketing in digital, which are super, super important as we talk about the ROI of the investments that brands are making in digital platforms. And for me, one of the most exciting categories is the social, community, and influencer marketing spaces because, everybody can become influential. And I think that is the power of digital. It is an amplifier of conversations. It's an amplifier of connectedness for all of us. And so seeing how those spaces are shifting is some of the things that I'm looking forward to in terms of reviewing the work.
I mean, when you mention a category like performance marketing, and I'm often thinking I'm clued in when the world of arts and culture meets the world of marketing. But I'm scanning my brain and going, okay, so what would be an example of performance marketing or a campaign of performance marketing, for instance? Yeah,
I mean, I think the essence of it is to really, you are able to get live feedback on whether, work is working or not. Yeah, I think we've come a great way in terms of not have to wait to the end of a campaign to say whether it worked or not. Yeah, but by simply looking at, what is the post that Bridget, is interacting with. Yeah, when we put one or two out, which are the ones that are getting the most kind of, engagement? How do we respond and use that to go and close a sale or to drive an action? Yeah, all of these things are now measurable metrics that we can have data points on in real time and also adapt our communication and messaging in real time. So that's the changes that are now coming, right? You don't have to wait 3 months to realize that your work is not working. You can change it in hours, and respond to spaces like time of day, moment of the day, where people are. And I think that's a beautiful and exciting space to learn how to remarket for myself.
Absolutely. And also just the agility that's required, I think, for modern day marketers and modern day communicators, because as you're talking about having those measurable metrics and anybody who sort of who's engaged an influencer, or perhaps who happens to be an influencer in their own right, micro, macro, and everything in between. You know how important it is for clients now to plug in to your profile and extract that real-time data and have that ability to see whether, as you say, whether or not the campaign is working, whether or not your audience resonates, responds, and reacts to the call of action.
Absolutely. And I think it is changing the importance of knowing your own, the value of your content, right? We have seen that change in terms of what influencers are now commanding in terms of space, being choiceful in terms of the work that they want to do, and also brands that they want to be associated with. They are brands in and of themselves. And if you are going to be marketing yourself as a brand, right, you need to be able to speak about what your value proposition is, what makes you different from any other influencer. And I have a favorite saying my boss used to say to me, in God we trust, but everybody else we bring data. And so as anyone, whether it's us marketeers, advertisers, but as influencers themselves, they need to know their own data and why it is that I should be investing and partnering with you as a client that you'd like to attract.
I think as we have this conversation, Elizabeth, it's the other thing that sticks out for me is when we talk about the agility of the industry and its capability to sort of evolve and morph so quickly. Just 2 years ago, 2 years ago, we didn't really have the matrix to measure all of this. We really didn't have the precision to be able to extract that data. As you say, in God we trust, in everything else we need data. And fast forward 2 years, now yourselves as marketers, as advertisers, as communicators, you have all of those tools that are required to not just believe what an influencer is saying, for instance, but to actually have the data to be able to back it up.
Yes, and it's a beautiful space, which is what I was saying. It's absolutely exciting in terms of all the areas that are mushrooming, as valuable areas to invest in, right? Whether that is in your tech and your AI that helps you, do this faster, quicker, cheaper, right? But also, I think it is, for me as a professional who regards marketing as a serious, profession, and you're always, I guess, going to be questioned in any business on the value that your function brings. What digital is helping us do is to put a data-based, evidence of the fact that brand building works. And we are now able to measure it in real time in terms of short-term uplifts that it can give on sales for brands, but also the long-term impact that certain campaigns have made. And now we've got the numbers, and that is a powerful position to be in. Absolutely. And so for me, there's never been a more exciting time to be in this industry because, the spaces are so rich. The areas that you can go deep in as a person, whether that's maybe community management or activations, or there's such a wider array of industry that I am super, super excited to see where it goes.
I wanted to just take a quick break here, Elizabeth, and then we'll come back on the other side and continue our conversation. It's just gone 10 to 3 o'clock with just under 9 minutes to go before we wrap up the show.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Something big is coming. 6:30 will never be the same. Amalanga Wafani, only on SABC 1.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Are you surprised by this plan of action from the ANC that political school or nothing? You have to go to school and pass first, essentially.
This is not the most profound intervention that is needed, but an intervention has been needed for some time. They do not know the history and the purpose of the ANC. So you cannot take those people through a crash course. That would be the equivalent of taking a pig that you see, this is a pig, and putting lipstick on it and think it will be a lady.
Political analyst on Elias One, and is going to leave me with this image, as he said. If you find a pig, or you take a pig and you put lipstick on the pig, it's still a pig. It's not a woman with lipstick.
You're listening to the National Pulse. Missed it? Find the podcast at safm.co.za.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, we are catching up with Elizabeth Mugwena, who is, of course, in the world of marketing and branding. And Elizabeth is this year's jury president for the 2025 IAB South Africa Bookmarks Awards. And they are an incredible awards, really, that's poised to highlight groundbreaking work that drives digital change. And I know, Elizabeth, we're still within the period of call out for standard entries, and just talk to us perhaps a bit about, you know, the kinds of work that yourself as well as your jury chairs are hoping at least gets presented to y'all, you know, because it's such a wide array of work, obviously, but your wish list, the elements that you wish to see from the work that is representing South Africa, South African brands, South African marketing, what would that look like?
Yes, so absolutely, you're correct. I think we've got 3 weeks left for entries, so it's really exciting because I can't wait, you know, to get into it, right? And I think the quality and caliber of the jury panel that we have, with people who have won multiple, you know, bookmark awards. We've got global industry leaders in it. So I'm really looking forward to really getting those entries in before, you know, the standard timeline of the 31st of March, where standard fees are applicable ends. And from then on, I think we would be applying a late fee to those applications. So please get it in before it costs more. We can't wait to see the work. And back to your question about what kind of work would I be looking for? I mean, we talked about setting a new standard. And part of setting a new standard means it has to be innovative, right?
Yeah.
That is the let's call it the bloodline of growth for all industry. So what is the fresh thinking? What is the fresh take? What is the new thing that you guys have done that sets a new standard? Secondly, how is this ambitious? And that is, you know, contextual, you know, ambition for a start-up versus an ambition for a, you know, company that's been there for years are very different. So work that is ambitious, and the entry can help us understand why it's ambitious. It has to be brave work or bold work, because that is the work that's going to be memorable, right?
Yeah.
We all don't remember the wallpaper safe work. It's the stuff that makes you laugh unexpectedly, or shocks you, or triggers a memory, yeah? Or it's humorous, and we all want to share it in our groups, yeah? That is the kind of work that we're looking for. But again, it is marketing work, so it has to have driven some level of results, right? So it has to be measurable, and we are looking to see that the work that you did, the problem that you solved in an ambitious, bold, creative manner, set a new standard for digital marketing excellence, and delivered results, as you had set them out. So those, I think, for me, are broad strokes that we will be looking for in the work, because it needs to create a new North Star for where every other, digital marketing professional, creative or client says, that is what I would like to do in the future.
Absolutely.
It's work that you look at and you must be jealous that you didn't do it.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, it's been a pleasure. We appreciate the time with you this afternoon. That was Elizabeth Mokoena. She is the jury president of the 2025 IAB South Africa Bookmark Awards. You heard that. It needs to be brave and bold and ambitious and innovative, and it definitely needs to shift the cultural needle when it comes to digital marketing in one form or another. We're in an exciting space as South Africa. I think that's one of the things I've learned over the years doing arts and culture focused, conversation is that actually when it comes to our ability to market and brand, we regard it as right up there, top tier, amongst the very top creative countries in the world. And I think we probably don't boast enough about it. Like, we don't stand top of mountains and sing our praises enough about it. But when you talk to people like Elizabeth and her colleagues and executives within these spaces, they highlight to you just the position that South Africa holds when it comes to marketing and branding globally, and how respected and revered we are for our innovation, our creativity, our boldness, our ability to tell authentically South African perspectives and narratives. And that's really quite appreciated. That is where we leave the show today, hopefully on a high for Ashraf to come through and continue the conversations on the National Pulse with his team. They're already standing by 3 to 6. They're going to be here for the rest of the afternoon. From myself and my team, we thank you so much for always choosing to be in conversation with us. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again tomorrow.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
How far down the line do you think you need to go to achieve that? Because, the key part here is there's two words, foreigners, but before that the prefix illegal. So we are talking about undocumented as opposed to documented foreigners, right?
Absolutely. But remember, we also want to emphasize the fact that even with the legal ones, we know that there's been a lot of corruption that goes with identity fraud at Home Affairs. So that we're not isolating as well. So we term those documented but fraudulently documented illegal immigrants as illegal immigrants. So all of that for us is a struggle, and we feel like the beginning of it is by securing our borders, first of all, and ensuring that the ones that are here are deported.
Jacinta Nkobese Zuma, who's one of the organizers of the March in March.
You're listening to the National